Civ 5 is the one game in the series that has propelled the franchise into the mainstream. It is one of the games that completely changed the overall philosophy of Civilization franchise upside down. It is the game that pushes the series from a strategic 4X game to a tactical 4X game, whether good or bad. It is also one of the games that completely broke the AI apart. The main change that Civilization 5 brought to the franchise is the 1 unit per tile and the hexes. Overall, the hexes brought a lot of positive with this series, but the same cannot be said for 1 unit per tile. It is satisfying to beat an opponent with 3 times the army by tactically challenging them. It is very satisfying to beat an AI who does not know how to use the 1 unit per tile combat. So I totally get it why the casual players really like this system, and why in higher difficulty you don't feel the limit of this system because of the absurd amount of bonuses that Civ already has in higher difficulties. But in my opinion, the 1 unit per tile is a mixed bag. Don't get me wrong, there are mods in Civ 5 that really improves the AI of this game, like the Vox Populi. Shout out to them for really improving the Civ 5 gameplay in almost every aspect. I do believe there are potential in 1 unit per tile, but there are also a lot of flaws, especially with the vanilla Civ 5 game, like the infamous Carpet of Doom, where the whole map is filled with units from all over the continent, which really hurts the overall visual flair of this game. The graphics of this game is one of the best aspects of this game, and it's totally ruined in the late game when the whole map is filled with units all over the map by a carpet-like structure. It produces an infamous traffic jam where you cannot really move one unit from another because you get stuck in there with hundreds of other units. It is especially true in higher difficulties where the AI gets huge bonus and they can crank out units a lot faster, making it impossible to move around in open borders, because whenever you say yes to open borders, you will find quickly enough that the AI's unit will block your way through everywhere. That's why it's very much, in my opinion, it's very much advisable to not open borders. Another flaw with this system is that unit movement. In the late game, you have to move like 40-60 units because it is a 1 unit per tile, so you are forced to move every unit one at a time. It is a tedious micromanagement hell. Vox Populi somewhat fixed this issue by lowering the supply units. Like the supply cap is lowered, so the infamous Carpet of Doom happens very late in the game. But in the official version of Civ 5, it is very much a problem. Another flaw is that reduction of scope. Like in Civ 5, it is very much advisable to not build any more cities after your fourth city has been settled. You can win any game by just 4 cities, maximum 5 cities. Because if you choose the tradition, which is the by far the best policies in the policy tree, you get free monuments so that you can bypass the happiness gap. The happiness gap, if you don't know, the happiness gap is a system introduced in Civ 5 where the more luxury items you get, the more happiness you get, and the more you settle cities, the happiness meter decreases. What it does is that when you lower the happiness, you get a huge penalty on science and other population penalty. And when you settle a new cities, you get a 5% less cost, like 5% cost penalty in all of the science of the whole empire. So as a result, it is very much advisable to not build more than 4 cities, because after that anything you build, you get 5% cost reduction on everything. And so as a result, the more you build, it hurts your chances to win the game, and it hurts your empire very much. This is one of the reasons why Civ 5 has such a distinction with rest of the series. It is the only game where the tall, quote unquote tall term is first coined, where you can just not build cities, you can just not interact with the map, you can just leave everything else on earth behind and just turtle up in your 3 or 4 cities. It is the only game where the distinction of tall versus wide discourse happens, and the community is worse for it. As you can see from my general tone, that I do not like the design philosophy of this game. I do feel like it is one of the most overrated strategy games ever created. And most people who do like this game like it for superficial reasons like the graphics or the art style. But for me, I don't really care much about the graphics. I play strategy games for mechanics. Strategy games do not need a shiny graphics, and Civ 5 having shiny graphics, don't get me wrong, do help in playing the game, but it can't save the game if the mechanics of the game is so flawed. It is where the Civ 6 mainly differs. The early game mechanics, not the late game mechanics of the early game mechanics of Civ 6 is far better than Civ 5, but it has terrible graphics. But I would still play that game over Civ 5 because good graphics don't save a game with shit mechanics. Another thing, you may feel like I'm shitting on Civ 5, but I try to make this a balanced review. So I'm gonna talk about some of the positives of this game. I do like the policy tree, even though it is very unbalanced, and the tradition and rationalism is by far the best policy tree. So there isn't much of a choice. You are actively hurting yourself by choosing anything else. It is not well balanced. So I generally do like the policy tree system, even if it is very unbalanced. I also do like the graphics. which I said in my original point, that the game has lots of superficial elements that are done really well, which mask the game from its shallow mechanics. I do feel like the late game ideology is redundant. It is basically a copy paste of social policy tree. So I don't feel like it adds anything new to the game. Same with tourism. Another thing is that the music of this game is really well, especially the separate music from for war theme and peace theme for every civ, which is really good. I like the music and the ambience, and I do like the fog of war, which is white like cloud, which creates a generally a positive tone for this game. I like the seriousness of the quotes, like the narrator's quotes are really well, and I do like the main theme music, even though it is not as good as Civ 4 or Civ 6's music. Like it is not as good as Christopher Tin's music. So there are lots of things I do like about this game, but most of the things, if you have noticed, is very superficial, and I truly believe it does not deserve that much high rating and the higher play count from Steam numbers. Oh, another thing, I do forgot to mention that I do like that from the first time the cities can defend themselves in Civilization franchise, which is a really good change because in previous versions any one unit can just go through the cities and take over, but not here. So this is a really nice change. The main thing is that I really dislike how this game reduces the scope of Civilization franchise. Like everything is so small. Cities with just 3 or 4 cities, like empires with 3 or 4 cities, with a handful of units. Like the scope of this game is so small. So I really dislike that aspect of the game. Like um, John Shafar has a design philosophy that I really don't agree with in terms of 4x. This is really a 3x game because expansion is completely curse stomped in this game. You can just win by 3 or 4 cities. So what's the point of interacting with the rest of the civilization AI? There is no point in interacting with other AIs. So I don't understand why this game is so popular. Let me scratch that. I do understand why this game is so popular. I feel like because you can just win with 2 or 3 cities, there isn't much of an effort to win a game. So casual players really like that aspect because they don't have to strategize or they don't have to actually interact with the map. They can just sit by and they can just actually sit by and just spam the end turns, and they can just free win the game. They don't have to interact with the map, they don't have to actually get the resources. They can just settle 4 cities in the first 100 turns and then just spam the end turns for and automatically win the game. I really dislike that type of gameplay. Overall, if you want to play Civ 5, I highly suggest you play Vox Populi, the mod, because vanilla Civ 5 is terrible, and I don't think there is anything in vanilla Civ 5 that is done better than Vox Populi. If you're not playing Vox Populi, you're really doing yourself a disservice. That's it for today's video. Thanks for watching.